Yeah, I think I want to say that I'm privileged to be here. I know an introduction has been said about myself, but I want to say that I'm humbled to have gotten the invitation from EPN to attend your dinner and also to share some insights on pharmacovigilance and particularly on the regulatory point of view, what you are doing. So I know we are getting tired because the evening is deep, and we have also eaten. And you know, when you eat, you somehow make your system a bit busy, and so much of the energy is divided. And so let me just say something about the Pharmacy and Process Board. I work with a product safety department. Currently, they're acting in charge of post-market surveillance. And I know all of you, because you're professional, you must be knowing the regulatory body that oversees your practice. So in a nutshell, those are some of the regulatory function of the board. Registration, regulation, where we do product evaluation and registration, inspection of pharmaceutical manufacturing processes, and Dr. Bina has spoken a lot about it, and thank you, Dr. for a lot of the insights that you've shared with this team, a regulation of clinical trials, and then we have post-registration regulation, control of import and export of pharmaceutical, pharmacovigilance and post-market surveillance, licensing and good distribution, and then we have the registration of training and pharmaceutical personnel, and then we also have the last one, which is normally under corporate, where we enhance public participation in monitoring and ensuring the quality of safety of medicine. So you know, when the new constitution was promulgated, somehow it became necessary that every government agency, you must take citizen participation very seriously. So even if it was not part of your work, now everything you do, you must be able to conform to that, so that it is the citizen who drive the agenda and not the other way around. So we take citizen participation also very seriously. So in that slide, I've just tried to put some terminologies. I know this was a class from what I'm hearing. And for your information, I only got to know about Africa Pharmaceutical Network when I was invited. I used to see it in the PSK forums when they're looking for students, but I've actually never conceptualized what it is. So when I got a call, we are APN, and then I just came from another workshop in Dar es Salaam, where I was also invited by EPN. So I was saying, like, this is APN and this is EPN. So EPN is Ecumenical Pharmaceutical Network. So coincidentally, the two terminologies came at the same time. So I was like, what is the difference? So I won't say much about that because you know what pharmacovigilance is, and I've tried also to give the definition: a substandard medical product, falsified medicine, unregistered, stroke unlicensed medical product, and then precious drugs. Maybe I can only ask a question on unregistered product. Do we have unregistered products in Kenyan market? Can we have unregistered products in the market legally? Let me put it that way. Because you are a class. How do you have it and why do you have it? And is it right to have it? I'm saying, is unregistered product allowed to be in the market? Okay. And somebody is saying a very strong yes. And I want to agree it's true. I wish I was let a mic so that she can explain the answer. But next slide, as she get a mic to tell us why she thinks that unregistered products can be in the market.
So sometimes we bring in these unregistered products because maybe at that time for some, like it's for emergency only, they're life-saving. So sometimes it's not registered, but there's someone who needs it here, like a patient, they need it urgently. Sometimes some distributors or they're not able to register the product because the volumes or the quantities are very low, let's say like 50, or you need 10 of them per year, so that's why they're able to import it. So there's a whole process of bringing unregistered medicines through PPB where you need to fill in a form, and it's either through like prescription or LPOs from hospitals for that particular medication which is needed and not registered.
Thank you very much. I think you've said it all. And under the CAP 244, the rules of 222, which were enacted in July 2022, for the first time, the new pathway of bringing in unregistered products was first introduced into CAP 244. And the reason for that was looking like when you have a patient who is sick, who need a product, the product is not registered here, but dearly need that product. Do we have this person? Do we let him die? Maybe he has a relative in another jurisdiction that can be able to access that product and bring. We said no, we will need to have at least a lenient way to help individual needy cases. And so the board has a committee that sits and determines such matters. I sit in that committee. I think this is our second year, and we see a number of applications, and it's not very much pleasing because what we see, some of the people are trying to use the pathway to evade registration and now bring the commercial batches into the country. And so a lot of checks is required. I think as Kenya, I don't know whether it's Kenya or Africa or Africa in totality. When you're given an opportunity to solve a unique problem, we always tend to exploit and make it now very difficult. And now this bring now the story of ngamia. So there was this guy now alikuwa anasema sasa ngamia alikuwa anasema tu just allow me to get in so that my arm cannot be rained on. And so when the ngamia now comes into the tent, bring the amp, then he said, let my head get in so that it doesn't receive the rain. And all of a sudden, when it's inside, it stands upright and lifts up the whole tent. And now everybody is rained on. That's exactly what we do in our system. When there's supposed to be an opportunity to solve a particular problem, we really abuse it, we misuse it, and so it loses meaning. Next slide. So I know because you've done a pharmacovigilance class, and so if you did that class and you never interacted with the PPP pharmacovigilance reporting tools, then I can probably say you need to go back and check it, because this is a robust system. It is standing out in Africa. It's standing out in very many jurisdictions as a way in which it's helping us to detect substandard medicine, adverse drug reaction, and in fact, most of the recall you'll see around come through reporting of poor medical issues on products. So we call this is when we receive information through this way, we normally do what we call a reactive PMS. We take that individual complaint, carry out an investigation, get back to the manufacturer, do a lot of forward and back, giving also feedback to the reporter until we really get back to the bottom of the issue. And in many instances, you will find that there is an issue with the product. So each of these forms will have a distinct role when you are reporting. It is started traditionally with a yellow and pink form, with the yellow form being the adverse reaction form for reporting adverse reaction, and then the pink one was for reporting poor medical products. And then over time, when the system is changing, we realize that we need to report more issues. Then we introduced immunization. That's where the white form came in. We also took charge of blood and blood products. We introduced a form for reporting the same. We realized that also in our practice, at hospital and various places, there are a lot of medical errors that occurs, and we also designed a form so that you're able to also report the medical errors. So among the team in APN and those who are here, how many have or who have ever reported a complaint to Pharmacy and Poisons Board through the Pharmacovigilance reporting system, or even through maybe calling, say, there's an issue here pertaining a product? By show of hand, who have taken that role? Someone here in the front, thank you. Another person? Second one, thank you, Daktari. Any other person? Yes, our good colleague who is organizing us. So those are three. So have those issues reported been addressed? We can start with you. Did you get a feedback? Was it investigated?
I've reported 2 cases, one for IFE, counterfeit COVID, which I didn't get a feedback, and yellow form, which yes, I've gotten a feedback that it is being worked on.
Thank you. Daktari, what did you report?
Mine was a while back when I was interning, so I did report, but I think by the time there was feedback, I must have left, so I don't remember. I don't think. Maybe the hospital got feedback, but not me personally.
Anyone else who reported an issue? Yeah, so we appreciate reporting, and we actually ask you as healthcare providers, and particularly pharmacists, you really need to be very, very vigilant about the drugs that are there in the market, about the medicine that you give to your patient, because if yourself, it's difficult for you to be able to identify a substandard or falsified product, then it can only be a heal task for a patient. So for you, at least you stand a better chance to do that, and you should play that role. Next slide. So please, if you've never reported, please make sure that you do that. So these are just some of the statements that I thought I could put into the slide when I was preparing this for you, and it has already been spoken by the speaker who talked. The WHO estimates that 10% of the medical products in low and middle income countries to be either substandard or falsified. And you can see that a human toll of annual deaths totaling to 500,000 deaths in sub-Saharan Africa is happening due to SF medicine. And then the specific cases, 267,000 deaths linked to antimalarial medicine, and 271 deaths due to SF antibiotics for severe pneumonia in children. And these are just the reported cases. You can imagine in a country like Kenya and many other countries that people do not even report or do not know what has caused death. So the figures can only be higher than this. So it's very important that we become vigilant because it's one way of ensuring that we save our population. Next slide. So when you look at that circle, it represents substandard and falsified pharmaceutical scissors. So around the world, normally Interpol takes a lot of concentration when products at the port of entries coming into the country are intercepted and they are seized because either they're substandard or they are falsified, and they normally make this report annually. So you can see from different parts of the world the proportion of the SA products that are intercepted at the port of entries, and you can see the subject is really live, and we can only cheat ourselves if we say that it doesn't exist. Yeah, so does substandard and falsified medicine have an impact? And you say yes. So it impacts us in many ways. It impacts economically. It also impacts individuals. When you take a substandard medicine, you can definitely know what happened. It might take difficult for you to get healed. You might also probably die by taking a lethal product. Legitimate producers, there is an impact to legitimate producers. You deny a legitimate product the due market, and that's unfortunate. And also government, you realize that the public and the patients may not be going to public facilities just because of they are not getting well. Next. So this is just a summary of some of the report of quality surveys that we conducted at PMS that we do as of continuing to make sure that we monitor the quality of products in the market. So I've just indicated the years and the number of samples that we've collected of different products, the number of samples that we've tested, and the compliance rate, how many have passed. And I don't want you to see and think like all products are passing 100%. This is just from the sample that we sampled. And it's a small percentage of product in the market. And so it doesn't really mean a lot, but just tell you that the board really continues to check the market regularly to make sure the products are of good quality. Next. Now, when I also preparing for this presentation, and I know I've been asked, I have few minutes, I thought I could not finish without trying to probably to show you what are some of the substandard nature of product that we get reported. We investigate and we institute recalls, and this is by the public information. So when you look at the Pharmacy Enforcers Board website, you will be able to get this information. So I've just indicated the medicine, and I've indicated the formulation, and then the product issue. What was the problem? So you can see some products, doxycycline, they fail assay, they also fail weight variation and dissolution. You can see for the other one, I'm not able to read from this angle. You also had an OS assay value under 30 degrees, 75 degrees. And then the results were 88%, for the specification indicated there, and not less than 90%. Omeprazole, we had blister pack, which had a mix-up. So esprazo capsules were mixed up with donistatin tablets in the same carton. So when the products are mixed up in a carton, it actually becomes a serious issue. So you can see from there the many issues that constitute the substandard nature of the products that result from the complaint. Next. Yeah, and I won't say much about this slide, but just to tell you about the pharmacovigilance and the global GSM system for WHO, and just to let you know that the pharmacovigilance system at the board, we are members of the member state that report as a medical product, and actually we report to Geneva, which is actually the place which handles all these matters that there. So the board, actually we have a seat as a board at the highest level. Next. So some of the issues we have as far as SF is concerned is that Africa faces a significant challenge in combating substandard and falsified drugs. An initiative like Africa Medicine Regulatory Harmonization and the East Africa Anti-Substandard and Falsified Act aim to strengthen the regulatory framework and improve supply chain security. So these are some of the thoughts that are there to try to address this issue, and they are still at the initial stages. They have not peaked, but I think they really help once they are working. So I've indicated some of the challenges, and I know because you've been in this class, you will really understand that there are many issues that are there in regards to SF standard, lack of regulation in the exporting countries. So there's some countries that they really don't care whether the product is of high quality or not, whether manufactured properly or not. And so it's a problem when your market it's not regulated, because then they will just bring anything. Limited data availability, lack of legislative framework, the global consensus not reached, weak enforcement and penal sanction, lack of enforcement, drug laws not properly enforced. And so if you have understand some of the countries that really the medicine are not regulated, you will realize that the markets are very terrible. And when you interact even with some of the labs that do testing, with the National Quality Control and meds, because they get samples from across many countries, they will really tell you the stories, and maybe you'll appreciate that your market is much better, but we are not perfect. Next slide. Contributing factors to substandard and false nature. Unfortunately, that slide is black, but there are a lot of notes, and they're not so much different from the other one. Just to tell you what really contributes to the substandard nature of the products in the market, including even corruption, a lot of interest leading to that. Next slide. Now, what is the board doing about substandard? I said we do a lot of post-market surveillance. We do a number of surveys every day. I mean, every year. I think we do 2 major surveys, one targeting the public health products and another one targeting a wide number of products from different classes. We try and, sample at random, do testing, and see that they comply. That is now a structured way in which we do PMS. But again, we also do a lot of testing when people make complaints about the product. We get those samples, market complaint, we do the testing, and then we inform. So one of the things, because PMS is very expensive, that has helped us to ensure that we test as much as possible is the use of screening technologies. We have what we call the mini lab, which employs the use of a TLC technique. And so it's slightly cheap because it costs you around 6,000 for you to look at some of the visual inspection of the product and the semi-quantitative nature. We have the compendial testing at 8QCL and MEDS. And currently we are at a piloting stage. Global Fund has procured 20 scanners to the board to use for testing of this product. And so now the training has been done. We are now doing library building for the spectral of those products. So we'll be going on to look at all the products in a risk base in the country. We build the spectral library to those scanners, and the inspectors will be having those scanners at the port of entry, the regional offices, so that every time when they go, they just scan the product and see if there is anything. And I think those are some of the attempts to make sure that we continue to surveil the market. I think that should be the last slide. Okay, so those are just some of the technologies that have been applied in other jurisdictions: the overt, covert, track and trace system, the blockchain technology, and the mobile authentication systems. Next slide. Yeah, and so when it comes to SF, everybody has a role. It's not only the regulator, the consumers have a role, pharmacists have a great role, the pharmaceutical companies have a great role, the regulators have a role, and so we should look at this matter collaboratively, that all of us have a role to ensure that the SF menace is out of our market. Next slide. And so the first presenter had exhausted a lot about strengthening regulatory oversight at different stages of their supply chain. That was by Philip. And so this slide was just to try to highlight that the supply chain vulnerability is very risky if it is not taken care of, in as far as ensuring that the SF products get away into the market. And the regulatory control are also very, very crucial. So research and development, the manufacturing processes, and distributions to patients. If we are able to do like a track and trace, so that we have a milestone approach to manufacturing the products and up to the patient, that will really help a lot in reducing the falsified nature. Yeah. So the best practices and strategies for addressing substandard, consumer empowerment and education, supply chain security, regulatory and industry collaboration, and combating corruption. Yeah, so I won't say much, because when you look at the WHO website and maybe you zoom out that cycle, you'll be able to see the summary of what I've spoken as one of the ways to try to minimize the SF in our markets. Yes, and so that is the last part of my presentation. I just want to once again thank you for invitation, but maybe to leave you a point that we need all to be proactive in reporting substandard products in the market. Our markets are not free of them, and by doing that, you will actually have played a role to save a patient life and to save the next generation. Otherwise, I also want to follow what the earlier speaker said, that EPN, I'm just hearing that it's a very nice program. Most of you are learned, and this is where pharmacy and this is where science is heading. So you are in the very, very right direction. Continue to take those classes, and someday, you will actually come and give a testimony that this has done you a good thing and good justice, and it will make you a very, very important person in the future.